It's time to get your game face on and show the world what you're made of.
Welcome to Chasing the Beats, a show dedicated to weeklybeats.com artists, their songs and stories from the 2024 season and beyond. I'm your host, SQF, and our guest today is Catchinashes. Welcome to Catchinashes. Dude, thanks for being on.
You're welcome. Glad it all worked out time-wise with the
you
with Australia.
You Australians are hard to catch in my time zone, so.
Well, we could say the same for you. You'd be hard to catch
It's
in
true.
our time zone.
It is very true.
I feel like whenever I reach out to my friends in the States, it's always super early in the morning or late at night.
Yeah. So
or it's just like massive delay. I'll send a message and then it's like 6 hours and then I get a response.
Yeah, because when I started scheduling Australians, I was like, oh man, like the only real time I can do this is like Friday evening at 6 p.m. or like Saturday mid-afternoon, the times that I don't really want to be on my computer. So we've arranged it because you have a holiday, so we can record midweek, and that kind of saves my Friday. So thanks for making that happen.
No, that's all right. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. And I would consider you a pretty OG Weekly Beats guy since you started in, 2016?
2016, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, so I've completed every year of Weekly Beats since 2016, so all 52 weeks.
Nice. Perfect streak.
Sometimes I've hobbled over the line, but I got there at the end.
It still counts.
Well, they always say you need to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
But you can really win Weekly Beats.
Well, I was looking back through your previous years, and there was one, what year was it that it was like, the last song was like, I have no energy left or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been either 2022.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Because I think that was still mid-COVID for us here in Australia.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, tough times for all of us.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah, wanted to have a large finale, but no more energy.
Yeah, that was how I felt that year.
Yeah. But
I always try to go.
You finished.
Yeah, I always try to go a bit like push myself that final week because like like this year, like for my finale, it was like one of the first tracks that I sort of really tried to sing.
Yeah.
And that was something that I wanted to do from like week 1 last year. But it sort of kept psyching myself out.
As the weeks dwindled down, you were like, there's only one more chance to do that thing that I said I was going to do.
Yeah, I feel like in my first week track, I mentioned that I wanted to, like, have a proper song with lyrics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to 52, and I'm like, whatever happens, I need to make something happen.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned a few times now, that is going to be one of my goals for 2026. So, but as I approach that, I can definitely see waiting till the last week to grow the balls to do it.
I don't even think it's that. It's there's writing the music and then there's coming up with lyrics. Like it's a whole separate process. Yeah, I want to definitely do more next year. Like I feel like I've taken that first step, so should be able to do a few more in 2026.
Yeah, so now that you did a singing song for the last song of last year and you've had time to think on it now, like what are you going to do differently so you don't wait until like the last week of next year?
I think the big thing I want to get done between now and starting next year is actually do a vocal stack so that I've
Yeah.
got that sort of pre set up and sort of practice mixing music
Mhm.
to a vocal.
Yeah.
They're the probably two things I need to work on in the next 3 months to make that a bit easier of a goal for me.
Yeah, so basically there's no technical excuses.
No, like I feel like
But doing that work will mean that you have no technical excuses, like you can focus on the lyrics and
yeah, I think it's like probably 16, 18 years ago, I really got into like poetry. So like sort of lyric writing
all right.
sort of stems off that.
Oh, for sure.
So that side I'm sort of okay with. It's it's just the like the merging of the two skills
Yeah.
because obviously yeah, a lot of what I try to do, especially outside of weekly beats, is like chip.
Yeah.
Weekly beats is sort of my I can experiment a bit more and just
Okay. I was gonna ask, I mean, we can kind of go backwards a little bit to how you got into weekly beats. And I was listening back through your previous years and I noticed that a lot of the earlier years are pretty much exclusively chip.
yeah. So for me, music was never really something I thought I'd be doing. Now doing five years of weekly beats, very different story. But yeah, it was. I just happened to Lachlan sort of double booked himself like a trip to Vietnam and PAX Australia. So the first year we had PAX here in Australia. So he couldn't go to PAX because obviously Vietnam, that was where he was going.
Right.
So he gave me his 3 day pass. I went to PAX. I met a bunch of the local Melbourne chiptune guys, Ctrix.ay, Eugene Christie, and sort of found chiptune for myself.
Yeah. And you hadn't made any music before you went to PAX.
No, I'd done a little bit of game development, um, and then the industry in Australia died. So I didn't really pursue that any further. But obviously, part of game making is sound design. So I'd
Mhm.
done a little bit of like sound effect stuff, but not really music. But yeah, so basically went to PAX Australia, met a bunch of the Melbourne chip like founders,
Yeah.
and I was invited out to the next gig they had. I think that was probably one of my first live music like outside of like high school. So it was sort of a big thing for me, going out to a music venue by myself.
Mhm.
Uh, Sort of over the next say 6 months, became really good friends with them. I was sort of like, hey, if you wanna give this a go, like we're happy to give you like the time to like show you how to do it. And yeah, I just sort of wrote my first track, felt really, really accomplished. Um, and then I remember going out with Ctrix and Calavera to a bar, and I was like, "Hey, this is my first track," and they're like, "That's really good. In 2 weeks, there's an open mic event. If you get another track done, you can sign up for that." So
Whoa,
I
all right, yeah.
sort of rushed rushed a second track in like 2 weeks
Wow.
and signed up for this open mic and drank way too many drinks and got up and performed. But it sort of sparked this fire in my heart,
Yeah.
and that was sort of how it all started.
Wow, that is quite a series of events to go from making no music to kind of getting inspired at PAX, and then to finishing a song and then doing a live performance.
Yeah, I think that first song took me 2 months. 'Cause I was sort of like learning the software, and
Yeah, what did you make it in?
so I started out straight in Little Sound DJ. So it's very very similar to the M8, which I know you're familiar with.
Oh yeah.
But it's obviously 4 channels,
Mhm.
and no synth engines. Yeah, because that's actually where a lot of the interface stuff from the M8 came from, was Little Sound DJ.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I really sort of just taught myself how to use it, and then yeah, that second track was 2 weeks. Got
Wow.
up, performed, and then I think the following year I did another open mic, and then a bunch of the guys were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Square Sounds Tokyo." And I was like, "All right." I booked a flight. We all went to like Tokyo together.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, I really feel like you know the Melbourne chip, or even just the Australian chip scene, and Weekly Beat are very much like a second family to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those feelings. Like I've met a small number of people outside of like uh, the Melbourne scene. Uh, like I think back in 2019, I met up with Drew Orange Drink
Oh, nice.
when I was in the States on a holiday,
That's cool.
and it was sort of, you know, we got together, we spent the whole day. I won't say part of the story because I know Drew always hates when I bring it up, but it was
Well,
really good. It felt like catching up with like long lost family. Like we just
yeah,
had a ball for the whole day.
that's awesome. Yeah, so one day Orange Drink will actually be on the show, and maybe I can bring up that day with him. Uh,
He,
uh,
he'll probably make it sound a lot better than I will.
yeah, and so obviously you got into Weekly Beats from the chip community, right?
Yeah. Um,
So
so
how
obviously,
long since, or like between when you made those first two songs and that live performance? How long till you did your first Weekly Beats?
so I think I started doing stuff in LSDJ back in 2013. And I chose like my artist name, Catchinashes, in July of 2014. So I was sort of halfway through a Weekly Beat year. I don't think I'd heard of it at that point, but I definitely probably heard it towards the tail end of 2014, and then was like, all right, next year, not realizing it was bi yearly at that point. I was like, next year I'll do it. So obviously I waited till
Yeah,
2016 to
that
start.
a very common situation where people are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." Like, okay, well, next year, I guess.
I guess the other interesting thing is, like for me, like my artist name has some symbolic meaning, other
Mm.
than being like sort of a pun on my name. So for me, catching ashes is sort of like as long as you like never give up on your dream and keep chasing it, you can be reborn like a phoenix. So
Oh,
catching
cool.
catching ashes.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm a big fan of Pokemon, so catching things is a core mechanic of that. And then obviously, my name's Ashley, so it's sort of all
There you go.
yeah. So I feel like that sort of embodies like my spirit and writing music. Like if I don't give up, I'm only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And what other music things have you gotten into since you started like chiptune? Because I see you've got, no one can see this, but you've got some like a guitar and some keyboards. Like, how has this spark expanded?
So the guitar's there for looks. I bought it to learn, and I haven't yet.
All right,
Obviously, I've
still
got.
expanding, still expanding.
Well, I think that was the other goal I had for Weekly Beats last year was to write a track with a guitar, and that one didn't happen.
Got it.
um, so I've got a 14 key, a complete like keyboard controller. I've got my Chompy Club, sort of like a keyboard sampler.
Yeah, I've seen those. I've never played with one before, but it looks pretty interesting.
I've got the This Is Noise Gamma on order. That one looks quite fun.
Cool.
I think some of it has just been like for Weekly Beats. I like to move away and sort of learn skills that I wouldn't in the constraint of
Yeah.
LSDJ. Um, Sometimes it's nice to either just like open up Fruity Loops, um, just have 4 or 5 channels and just enjoy not
Mhm.
having the limitation.
Or different limitations.
Yeah, like I think one of the things I like doing in Weekly Beats is being like, I can try this genre of music and I only have to focus on it for 1 week.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to be like, all right, I've really been listening to like Moonbaton or something, and then try to recreate something that sounds like Moonbaton.
Yeah, like, there's no obligation to continue exploring down that path.
Yeah, exactly. I
Is
feel
that because you, like, dove headfirst into chip and are, like, headed down that road for a long time?
I don't think so. I think it's just sometimes I just need to be in a different headspace.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're working within like the limitations of the Game Boy, it's 4 channels, one note at a time. So you sort of got to squeeze, you know, everything into what space you've got.
Yeah, there's a little more strategy to get the sounds out.
Yeah, and obviously there's no. I mean, there is sample playback, but obviously you need to like flash a whole cartridge to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother step.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's nice just to be like, hey, I'm gonna try this for a week, and if it sucks, like that's okay.
Yeah, it's just 1
Like
week.
that's all Weekly Beats is just like a spot where I can experiment, and no one's gonna really judge you.
Mhm. Yeah, at least in 2024, like, you kind of have several different styles going on, like, there's, of course, some chiptune. There's, like, a lot of, like, lo-fi, almost kinda, like, grungy kinda
Yeah,
tracks, like, some piano stuff, which I know you're probably sequencing the piano, but I was going to ask if you played piano because, like, one of my favorite songs from 2024 is a piano tune.
so I can't like play the piano, but sometimes I'll just like twiddle.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's a little bit easier to you know just press a key on the keyboard and hear a note than
Yeah.
dragging the mouse up and down a sequencer.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a bit of both. But yeah, a lot of it is just sequenced.
I mean, it sounds good, so whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Thank you very much.
And since Weekly Beats is kind of your experimental playground, if you will, what do you do to keep the experimenting fresh? Because I've said this before where I feel like I'm kind of stuck in a lot of the same stuff that I make, and I'm always trying to find a new avenue to like shake things up a bit.
I think because I do try and do different genres, like even if I'm doing lo-fi, or it's like I've really been liking like the drum and bass type of you know like drums, or I've been listening to hyper pop
Hmm.
because I listen to a lot of music as well. I can sort of take elements and be like, I want to try and see how I can use like this element, rather than sort of looking at it as like a whole package.
Got it. So like listening to a different genre and then pulling like one, is it like a sound or like a style or a
Like
rule
a
maybe?
style or feeling.
Mm,
Like sometimes for weekly beats, I'll just pick a style of music, and like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will sort of just whatever free time I get, like going to work, I'll just like listen to you know like hyper pop as an example. I'll just listen to a bunch of like hyper pop tracks and be like, what's making this like
what makes
hyper
it
pop?
hyper pop?
Like obviously hyper was partly the lyrics and the sound of the vocal, but they're also like very grungy. But yeah, I sort of just take smaller elements of what I'm ingesting
Yeah.
musically over the week, and try and pick apart a few little pieces and be like, this is what my brain's liking this week, and then
Yeah. So you have a heavy research phase.
sometimes
Mm,
there's also other weeks where just life gets in the way, and then my wife's
of
like
course.
on a Sunday, "Have you done your weekly beats?" And I'll be like, "Crap, no, I haven't." And then she's like, "Off you
Yeah.
go, get it done." I'm
Off,
like, "Thank
go,
you."
get out of here. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely good having a really supportive wife that uh, keeps me on track.
Yeah, she makes sure you get your weekly beats done.
Can't ask for much more.
Oh, man. So, uh, I like your approach because you're like, "All right, I'm setting my sights on, like, a particular kind of music this week. Let me go study that music and see what kind of makes it unique, or, like, what are some interesting things about it that I can try to recreate on my own."
Yeah, sometimes that'll be on the Game Boy, and then it's like, how do I take this sound and recreate something that resembles it, like on a Game Boy?
Yeah. Yeah, like, one of your songs, which one was it? Synthetic Requiem?
Yep.
It's, like, very intricate chip tune, like, lots of layers going on, and I was like, "Wow, that's, like, a lot of complexity to, like, jam all of that in there," which maybe we'll listen to that one later.
Yeah, so like for me, last year, like a lot of my LSDJ stuff was sort of relearning uh like Little Sound DJ in a way. Like since I started using it, I was sort of a lot of my cartridges were on I think version like 4.6,
Mm-hmm.
which was quite an old build. There'd been a lot of advancements in the software and how things like sounds were created, and
Yeah.
so I sort of flashed a new cartridge that I'd purchased with 9.4, which I think is still the latest stable release. And I was sort of so much of how I would have used LSDJ had just changed,
Mm.
obviously for the best.
Right. It's
You know,
like if you miss a
don't
few
usually
weeks
make
or miss a few updates of M8, you're gonna be a little lost.
yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, how's it? How people are doing this? And then you're like, oh, they've got this update.
Yeah. Oh, I should get that. So you had to learn all the new features and maybe find some new ways to do old things.
Yeah, so I'd probably say a good half of how things worked like changed. It was uh like the way pitch curves uh that it all changed, the way you would synthesize an instrument all changed. So it was like a familiar landscape, but I was quite lost. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend uh 12 weeks back in LSDJ.
Relearning.
Because as you may have heard or even seen Drew mention, one of the things he wants me to bring back is my intros for weekly beats that I did in 2012,
Yes.
2022. So in 2022, I did like 12-week intros. So for each quarter of the year, had like a themed intro.
Nice.
One of them was counting down to my wedding.
Yes, I was listening to some stuff and I heard some intros and I think there's one
There was an intro for the first track
the
of
first one, yeah, Welcome Back
yeah.
track. Yeah.
Because I told Drew that I'd do one and I'd see how I go.
I agree with Drew. Like more should be done. I really like those.
So yeah, I've told him I'll bring them back just for him, and if anyone has a problem, to blame Drew.
There's just something commanding to me about an Australian accent in those intros. You know.
I feel like one of them it was just a pun on like an ad we had over here.
It's a local ad that no one else would know.
Yeah, I mean they were fun, but obviously it's another wave file I need to edit each week.
And getting into more of how you actually make music, coming from someone that hadn't made any music before you kind of got into chiptune, I'm curious to know about like how you built up the skills to do melody writing, because one thing that I noticed, at least in a lot of the songs from 2024, is compared to melodies that I write, which it's easy on the M8 to do some 8-bar loops and then add some variation. But you seem to have a lot of really long melodies that go like you go on a journey. And it
Yeah,
like I really love how long and varied they are.
so I think I think part of that is even when I'm doing like an LSDJ track, I'll sort of do some rough sequencing in like FL. Sometimes it's easier just to visualize it as this big like flowing like river.
Mm,
You know, as you're sort of aware when doing stuff in like the M8, uh, you're sort of only looking at small fragments of
yes.
your whole like pattern. So sometimes it's easier to sort of have it flowed out in a sequencer and then just translate it back over. Sort of means I'm doing twice as much work, but
But
it's
does that get you out of that more rigid looping structure and think a little bit more of like a cohesive composition?
yeah. I think because I'm sort of doing it outside of phrases
Right.
and like chains. It I'm sort of not looking at that like 16 bar
Mhm. Mhm.
like loop.
Yeah. It's easy to like it, the M8 I find when I get to a certain point, I need to listen to the song without looking at how it sequences
Yeah,
because you start to like see when the next loop is gonna switch over, like all the different breakpoints, and visually it sort of shows you where the song is going. But I want to be able to connect a little bit more with the end result where like should I break things up or have something like flow through these like breaks that are naturally happening because just like the structure of how you put it together.
yeah. The other thing that I sort of find helps break it up is, I mean, it's definitely something you can do in the M8 as well. But say you're doing a like a 4 bar loop, I'll just throw in some like 2 bar loops
Mm,
that sort of help it feel a little bit more organic. So you sort of have the melody flow on for an extra 2 bars, and it
got
doesn't
it.
sort of fit back into that
Yeah.
like 4/4 or 8/8, however you're sort
And
of
did
writing.
you like how did you get to that point where you're like, I'm sort of like staying in these 8 bar loops. I want things to like flow different.
I think it was just sometimes I'd write a melody and I felt like it just needed a note or two more
Yeah.
to to really like close out that section. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I don't want to write more because I feel like it should loop now. But
Needs just a little bit more.
yeah, just a little twinkle on the end that sort of makes it feel less robotic in a way.
Yeah. Cause like your melodies, they go in some unpredictable directions, which makes them sound very interesting.
Yeah, I think the other part of that comes from like I've never really bothered learning music theory, so
Yeah.
a lot of it just comes down to like what my brain feels is good.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably recite some music theory, but I've never used it to like help me make anything or make anything better, I guess I'll say.
Like sometimes when I'm sequencing, I'll throw on a scale just as a reference, but
Mhm.
obviously when you're doing analog music, like on the Game Boy, like there's no real way to articulate like a pitch bend.
Mm.
So a pitch bend's always going to be like what it is, the same as a vibrato.
Mhm.
When you're talking on like the analog side where it's not very like programmed to be a certain width.
Yeah.
You sort of just playing by your ear and like which of these settings sound good to me.
Mhm. And then on a more, I guess, I don't know if theoretical level is the right way to say it, but thinking back to just your experience now that you've been doing weekly beats since like 2016, uh, what are some things that you've gained out of doing it that maybe aren't related to music?
Look, there's probably not a lot that I can think of, like other than sort of gaining a mindset of like I can do this. Like if I
Mhm.
put my mind to it, because obviously that's half the battle of weekly beats is that I can do it.
Yeah.
It's just like finding a way to do it. Because I feel like if I'm thinking back 2018, I feel like I was in Japan for 3 weeks, and obviously still
Just immersed in chip music.
I was just immersed in chip music, but obviously I still had to submit my weekly beats.
All right.
so
Yeah.
so I was like, I'm on this holiday like halfway around the world, and I'm like, all right, sorry guys, I need to get my weekly beats done. I'll be with you in an hour or two. And it was sort of you sort of had to just be like, as much as I want to be outside exploring Tokyo, like I also need to do my
Yeah.
weekly beat.
Got some things I need to do, and I'll be back to exploring Tokyo soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's I feel like I need to sort of transition that mindset into to exercise and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which
But
I keep asking this question because I am still trying to figure this out myself. Of like, what is it about just the whole weekly beats structure that creates so much accountability? Like, no one is yelling at me. Like, if I miss a week, no one's gonna say anything bad about it. But there's still that just like social pressure of like, I've committed to doing this challenge.
look, for me, I feel like it's a mixture of you know you've you've started this journey. You know, you don't want to let yourself down, but you also sort of know that you've got this like family of people around the world that want to listen to your next track.
Yeah.
Even if on a week, there's no comments on your track. Like people listen to it.
Right.
Obviously, there's times that I might be listening to weekly beats at work, and it's really hard
Can't
to
comment. Yeah.
it's really hard to open up the page and write a comment. And you're like, oh, I need to write down a note to remember to comment on
Yeah.
that track later.
Uh-huh. Been there.
But yeah, I feel like because weekly beats is this family, like even if we don't all know each other by name, like we're all in this same battle,
Yeah.
and just knowing that other people are going through the same thing you are.
Mhm. And I think there's something maybe a little bit more personal about like you've got this community, but everyone is sharing something that they made that week. So
Yeah,
it feels like there's like a little bit of you out there whenever you publish a song, but then you're also listening to everyone else's other little pieces of them in a way that feels like there's more connection there than, you know, uh, having an accountability buddy for the gym or something.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, coming off that, it's if I'm talking about my music, I'm not usually being like, "Hey, go listen to my stuff on Weekly Beats."
Yeah, yeah,
Um, like, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing for Weekly Beats is for, like, the Weekly Beats family. Like, it's also for me, but it's like a lot of I've just made a lot of good friends
yeah.
from, like, the people that I've met through Weekly Beats.
And there's a little bit of like, I have people that listen to my music.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
you know,
obviously, that's all we really, like, wanna know as an artist, right? Is that, like, something that we wrote made someone feel something,
yeah.
be it good or bad. Like, you probably noticed with a lot of my Weekly Beat stuff, especially in the comments, I'll sort of put, like, a small, like, snippet of, like, how I felt for the week,
Mhm.
like, just my mindset. So
Yeah.
it's also sort of like a diary in a way that I can sort of be like, "Hey, I felt this emotion this week," and then
Yeah.
you listen to the track and you're like, I can see where the two sort of come together.
Mhm.
You felt anxious this week, and there's lots of like suspense in this track.
Yeah. That's cool to be able to translate those emotions into the track. A lot of the times when I try to do that, I feel like I'm sad. I want to write a sad song, and I ended up writing a happy one, maybe to cope.
Yeah, I mean that does happen as well.
Yeah, but it's nice to have people listening to your stuff and be able to return the favor and try to listen to as many songs as you can every week and
Yeah,
comment when you can when it's possible to, you know.
I guess the other thing that I know some of the other Australians have mentioned is obviously the deadline for us is a bit weird. So because of the
Mm,
time zones, it's like for Melbourne anyway, it's usually uh, 10 or 11 a.m.
on
is
Monday, right?
on Monday. So realistically, we're submitting it like say between 8 and 10 p.m. on Sunday
Mhm.
because obviously you go to bed, wake up, go to work.
Yeah, you don't have time to post first thing in the morning.
So yeah, usually it's a Sunday night battle if you haven't done something.
Yeah. Over here, it's a Sunday morning battle. Yeah. Well, should we start listening to some music?
Yeah, we can start listening to some music.
All right. So we both put a pile of songs into the Discord chat, and I'm making my picks here. I think I'm going to start out with going back to 2018 and listening to your chiptune song Gaijin Invasion,
That's correct.
uh, that harkens back to your time in Tokyo, I imagine.
It does. Obviously, gaijin's the word for foreigner
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Japan.
And I've been to Tokyo and been called that, so it's only right. All right, we're gonna start out with Gaijin Invasion. Let's go. All right, that's a fun one. Tell us about how this one came together.
So basically, the year prior, went to Square Sounds Tokyo. Uh, got back, and my first track that I started writing was sort of upbeat. Felt like a group of people sort of pushing through crowds, and it sort of just reminded me of that recent trip to Japan.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments here. Uh, let's see. Orange Drink said, "Perfect. I could hear some fun vocals over this. Nice track." So this kind of gave you some feels from the trip.
Yeah, it's definitely some feels like
And do you make a lot of music over the off season typically?
depends on how burnt out I am.
Yeah,
Sometimes I feel like after weekly beats, it's like hibernation, and I just catch up some video games and work on some tools for the next year for weekly beats.
hmm Like, have you made much music this year?
uh, I've probably done like 4 or 5 tracks.
Cool.
I've been quite busy with a friend, one hit kill, working on a Game Boy demo for the Syntax Demo Party, which is a demo scene event here in Melbourne, run by Citrix and a few others. So we've
And
been
I'm unfamiliar. What is a demo scene?
so a demo scene is it's a very broad statement, but
I'm naive on lots of chiptune and Game Boy and game development stuff.
so basically a demo party would be in its essence a bunch of people that get together and try and push old hardware to do things that it was never intended to do.
Got it.
So it'd be like having something that can only display 4 colors, with programming tricks display 8 colors on the screen at the same time,
Got it.
with like tile swapping. And I'm not so much into the older, doing the really old like stuff, but sort of in the semi newer stuff that was from my time.
Yeah. So, what are you trying to do with the Game Boy? Like, what are you setting up?
So we're just working on like a visual demo, sort of pushing like the Game Boy as hard as we can. Like
Visually,
visually,
not sound design stuff.
there's a little bit of sound design, but it's
Okay.
it's more like stuff on the screen.
Got it.
Quite a few puns.
And so, what's the mission for your demo? Like, what? How are you trying to push it?
For us, it's partly learning software that
Mm,
we're working with, and just seeing what we can, like cool visual stuff that we can get the Game Boy to do without freaking out.
yeah. Cool. I mean, do you share like this presentation anywhere? Like, can we watch it?
So after the event, like all the files, like I guess the Game Boy ROM file will be available. I can post it in the Discord or after the event.
Cool. I mean, I would like a video because I don't have a Game Boy.
You'd better run it in like an emulator.
Oh,
I
okay,
could do.
cool. See how naive I am?
That's all right.
uh, all right, we're gonna keep it rolling, and I think we'll continue the year journey, and this is from 2020, and this is Our adventure has only just begun. All right, and this one, again from 2020, you said this is one that you had kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, I guess, with writing 52 tracks for 5 years.
It's easy to lose a few.
And then only, spending a week on them. And then they're sort of archived away. Yeah,
but this one is a celebration of 1 year with your partner.
Yep. So now my wife. So everything went
well. Great.
Yeah, I was sort of in anticipation to the, getting together with you. I was like, I should take a skim back through my tracks, and there was quite a lot that I'm like, oh, this is really good. I don't remember writing this.
That's great. I love when you find, even just from last year, I go back and listen to some stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Like once I listen to it, I remember that week, but I completely forgot about that song.
Well, I guess in this case, we're talking, I think this was like week 30 or something. So, we're talking like 5 years ago.
Yeah. And still deep in a pandemic.
Yeah, like it was quite possibly even a track that I wrote in like an afternoon. Yeah. So I was like one and done. Yeah, I just, for the life of me, couldn't even remember writing it. And I was like, oh.
But it does, sounds like
I can feel the feel that I was trying to get with this track.
Yeah. It is a very like touching tribute kind of song.
Yeah.
And again, your melodies really stand out in your songs.
Thank you.
Anything else on that one?
I guess it's hard to talk about something that I sort of forgot about.
Yeah.
Other than, finding this lost gem within my archive of weekly beat music.
Well, we'll move on to 2024 now, the last song, because I wanted to play this one where you pushed your limits and sang on this. Yeah, so let's listen to it.
52 weeks, yeah, we ran this race. Weekly beats, now we fade to grey. A year in the mirror can't erase the feels. Catch you on Discord, let's make new ordeals. Started in January, just a vibe. Kicking beats weekly, kept the dream alive. lo-fi loops, the hyper-pop scream. 52 weeks, yeah, we lived the dream. Final upload, here's the swan song. My ugly duckling, now we're where we belong. Tempo slows down, but the spirit stays strong. Hit pause on the beat, let the moment shine. 52 weeks, 52 beats. We made a year of fire, now it's bittersweet. Catch you in 2026, let's collide again. On Discord, hit me up, let's transcend. 52 weeks, we rode that wave. Every note we dropped, every sound we gave. Catch you in 2026, till then, goodbye. But the rhythm lives on in the sky. Night drive, headphones on repeat. Every track we made felt so incomplete. Chiptune vibes, 8-bit dreams collide. Pixelated rhythm kept the nights alive. 808s rattling, synth so bright. This was a year, every week was a fight. But all good things gotta find their end. 52 chapters, now we ascend. Message me later, don't let this fade. Catch me on Discord, we've got tracks to trade. Streaming in the ether, our beats remain. Echoes of the past in every refrain. Came together, now we part ways. We'll sync up again on brighter days. 52 weeks, 52 beats. We made a year of fire, now it's bittersweet. Catch you in 2026, let's collide again. On Discord, hit me up, let's transcend. 52 weeks, we rode that wave. Every note we dropped, every sound we gave. Catch you in 2026, till then, goodbye. But the rhythm lives on in the sky. One last upload, one last sound. 52 beats, our legacy's bound. Years in the book, but we'll never quit. Catch you in 2026, let's make more hits. "52 weeks, we rode that wave. Every note we dropped, every sound we gave. Catch you in 2026, till then, goodbye. But the rhythm lives on in the sky. 52 weeks, 52 beats. We made a year of fire, now it's bittersweet. Catch you in 2026, let's make more hits. But the rhythm lives on in the sky.
All right, I think that is a great singing end to 2024. And there are lots of lyrics on this one. And from my perspective, not being a poetry writer and trying to get into writing some songs with singing, well done.
Thank you. Yeah, this one was fun. I mean, musically, I think it was a bit lacking, but obviously a lot of my focus was I need to get this one track for the year done that I try and, belt my soul out.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tried to, not just encapsulate my feelings of doing weekly beats, like everyone's feeling.
Yeah.
It's a journey, and, we're all taking the same journey separately. And, in a way, we're all cheering each other on, even if we're not listening to every track. It's
Yeah.
like, we all want everyone to finish, and yeah, it was just me trying to embody that feeling.
Yeah. Which is like the perfect end to, like, there's something special about the last song of the year. And this is a really great way to kind of sum up how, like you said, other people's experiences and yours doing weekly beats. And like that Ranjit commented on here, the lyric on Discord, hit me up, let's transcend, which is a great lyric.
Yeah, I sort of wrote that lyric to be like, hey, Weekly Beats is done this year, but you know, let's all just hang out in Discord.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great tribute to a community that you've been a part of now for many years with lots of accomplishments. And like you said, you've built friendships from people, across the world that you can, come to the States or they can come to Australia and you can get together and hang out for the entire day like you've known each other in person for years.
Yeah, it's very much like that. We're all it's just like this weird bond that you get from completing a year of Weekly Beats that
Hmm.
sometimes you just need that little thing to bond over, and it's writing
Yeah.
52 tracks in 52 weeks.
I mean, it's a hell of a thing to bond over, and it grabbed me in 1 year. So, I'm still pretty much a noob at doing weekly beats compared to you and a lot of other people. But I mentioned this on Discord one time that weekly beats and the Discord and just the community has given me like faith in the internet again.
Yeah,
Cause I think before I got into weekly beats, I was like, like people are just mean on the internet and like it's a terrible place. But now I have a completely different perspective of like meeting and making friends from, across the world, all doing this creative challenge.
yeah. I think it's one of those things. Like when you find the right watering hole on the internet
Yeah.
where people conjure like that's all you really. There are definitely lots of toxic waterways,
Yes.
but yeah, Weekly Beats is definitely one of those ones where there's lots of people that I've never really talked to other than the comment section, but
Hmm.
like all I feel is love.
Yeah.
Even when it's criticism from a loving place.
100%.
Like I don't think
Yeah.
I've
Cause
ever felt like insulted by like a comment being like, "Hey, I didn't like this. Like maybe you should have done this," or like it all feels like everything from Weekly Beats is just like from a place of love.
yeah. And I think there's something about, like you said, everyone kind of going through the same thing. And that if you made a similar comment on someone else's track, it would be from a place of trying to help that person and help them make a better song, or just like dropping a trick that you learned, or, you know, good intentions behind it, even if maybe you don't read them like that at first.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's no ill will.
No, I don't think I've ever come across like an ill-willed comment on
Yeah.
my venture through the comment sections of tracks.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to one of my absolute favorites from 2024. This is week 43, Warped Dream. Here we go. like I said, that is one of my absolute favorites. I just love that. I mean, it's a simple piano melody, but I really like the places that it goes, and kind of the, I guess the word is maybe some like dissonant directions at times. And I love the like subtle changes in the phrasing here and there. I don't know. I really, really love it.
Yeah, so I guess this one, like the melody sort of comes back to, some of like my LSDJ roots, where you can have, three phrases be the same and then you slightly alter the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of have this repetition that then slightly variates at the end and goes up and down, and sort of it gives you that flowing,
Yeah.
like a flowing melody that sort of feels like it's all over the place, but at the same time is like centered.
I would say it takes you places.
Yeah,
You've got those like familiar sections that you can like anchor with, and then like it takes you in different directions.
yeah. Like I can see this one was sort of me trying to articulate like the way I felt when I woke up one day.
Mm,
So sort of that dreamy, like floaty vibe.
yeah. And criminal that there's no comments on here. I'm commenting right now.
Look, I definitely don't take any offense if there's no comments. I'm like, there's so many tracks getting released that
Well, there's a
there's
comment now.
definitely
So.
gems hidden away.
Oh yeah. And I mean that was the whole point of doing this podcast thing this year, is like, I know there's gems out there that maybe I've heard, but that other people need to hear.
Yeah,
And I would say this is one of those where it's like, man, if you haven't heard Catchinashes Warped
Dream.
Dream, then here you go. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to move on to my next favorite, which is from week 9, 2024, Swaying to the Drums. All right, I guess I gravitated towards some minimal songs, but the drums on this just really stuck out to me. Like deep bass. It's simple, but it's got such a great groove to it, and I went back and listened to it several times while I was picking songs.
Yeah, this one's another one of those tracks that I sort of don't have a great memory of writing. Um, But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was some new drum samples I got my hands on that I purchased, and I think it was some wood instruments for like
Oh yeah, I
the
thought it was like a pluck, but it's out now. It's like a little like wood block almost.
yeah, I think it was a wood block instrument from memory. But yeah, sometimes I like pairing things that don't normally go together, like heavy drums
Excellent
and
arrangement.
like xylophone or something.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna play one extra one today. So normally we would play out the end of the episode, but I'm gonna play one from week 11, 2024, called Do Do To Do.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I was drawn to this one because of that like unique doot doot sound that I'm not sure if it's your voice or what you use for that sound.
So from memory, it was like a choir, like a synth. But I just sort of stumbled across it and just resonated in a weird way, and I was like, I'll see where this goes. And then when it came to naming the track, I was like, oh, what do I call this? And I was like, do 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 do, and I was like, yep, that sounds good.
Uh, no, it's super unique and again, great melodies. Just really uh dig the vibe of this one. I'm going back to look at your comments on this. Oh yeah, you said it's a vocal synth as a pad. And Kedbreak said, "Well, I never thought of using a vocal synth, but now you're tempting me." That makes for a fun effect. Now it's stuck in my head. It's true. It does get stuck in your head.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those ones where I was writing it. I was like, oh, that's really catchy, and then I'm just like, try not to overuse it.
But I mean, there's several other songs that I definitely think people should go back and listen to, like Late Night Vibes from 2024. Um, the first song, the Welcome Back, uh, with your what I like to call like motivational weekly beats speaker guy. And uh yeah, the last one I'm going to play out the episode is going to be that synthetic requiem. But before we do that, I just want to thank you for being on and want to hear if you've got any advice for either people that might get a hold of this episode that are thinking about doing weekly beats next year, or advice to newbies like me that have only done it for 1 year.
So my advice would be take it seriously enough that you're passionate about it, but at the same time, if you miss a week, like it's completely fine. Like as we've said, like no one's gonna hunt you down.
Yeah.
We might be sad that you missed a track
Yeah,
because
because
we
we
wanted
wanted to
to
hear it.
listen,
Yeah.
but like we're not gonna like be upset. It's more, so and so didn't upload this week. I was looking forward to seeing what they did this week,
Yeah.
rather than like, they didn't release the track.
We
It's sort
all
of
would be more upset if you were like, I broke the streak. I should just quit, because then that means we don't get to hear anything else for the rest of the year.
yeah, exactly. It's sort of like at the end of the day, like life happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us, just have things that happen during the week that either you're not mentally able to come up with something, or you have children that come first. Like we've all got our own things in life that try to prevent us from doing the things we want to do, and that's okay. Like it's as my motto for Catchinashes, just because you've been knocked down doesn't mean you can't get back up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And maybe you can reinforce some of those ideas next year with some intros.
I've already committed to Drew that there's going to be intros. So, as I said, apology to everyone else that don't like them.
No, I
But
think
yeah,
they're great.
they
I
are
think they're
fun,
great.
and they do sort of easily identify my tracks when they just randomly come up.
Yeah. Well, cool. Uh, Thanks again for being on, and thanks everyone out there for continuing to listen. And yeah, anything else you want to leave with?
Other than thanks for having me on. Like it feels reassuring and motivating to you know be able to talk about my music in a way that I haven't done before.
Yeah.
It's like obviously I recently released my first album, and
Is
it's
it a
sort
chip?
of yeah, it was a chip album of the stuff that I've done over the last 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So a large album.
I think it was about nine tracks that I sort
All
of
right.
dwindled it down to,
The
like the
greatest
ones that I
hits.
sort of come back to all the time
Yeah.
when I perform. But yeah, it's sort of, even though this
Where
has
can
been the
people
off
listen to
year,
this?
so it's on Bandcamp,
Catchinashes on Bandcamp.
Catchinashes on Bandcamp.
Cool.
Press start to continue. I linked it in the Discord a
Cool.
while ago. When the podcast episode goes up, I'll post it in there again, so it's
Sweet.
easy to find.
And I'll add it to the description when I post the episode. So if people aren't on Discord, which they should be, they can still find it. So yeah. Well, we're gonna close it out with Synthetic Requiem, and I'll talk to you all next week. Have a good one. What a jam that one is. And this is Post-Production SQF bringing you one more from 2024 Week 30 Late Night Vibes.